r/ask Reddit. What will you never tolerate? Lactose. Lactose intolerance. Lactose intolerance. People not flushing in public restrooms. I've had enough of their shit. I walked into a single stall bathroom after a female co-worker and there was clearly piss all over the toilet seat. I stood there for a moment, contemplating on just cleaning it or finding another bathroom. I decided to call her out privately instead. I went up to her and quietly said, "Do you want to come clean up the piss you left all over the toilet seat?" She slowly followed me back. I opened the door, and she grabbed some paper towels and wiped it up. I thanked her, and she went back to her business. I can't stand people who leave messes, and I'll call them out if I catch them in the act. As a woman, how the duck do you piss all over a toilet seat? Maybe from squatting, but if it's more than a drop, the way it's all designed to fit, that's really hard to do and almost impressive. People asking me a question, then not listening to my answer. What do you want to eat? I could go for some Burger King, now we're going with pizza instead. Why ask if you don't give a duck? I've heard these kind of people described as assholes. I'm never going to call them anything else. Littering. There is no reason to do it. Agreed. Smokers that throw their butts on the ground drive me insane. Their butts on the ground drive me insane too. Unzips. Being accused of something that I did not do. The most trivial of wrongful accusations gets my blood boil. What's worse is when afterwards everyone has comes to me about how sorry they felt for me watching me get in trouble when they knew I did nothing wrong. Like, excuse me, you're saying you felt sorry for me but you didn't even bother speaking up for me in the moment? And the opposite, accused of not doing something you did do. People who disrespect basic common courtesy. Example, the teenager who spat in a public jacuzzi I was in the other day. I gave him a decent reminder not to do it again. Ducking gross. Open bracket. My first award. Thanks anonymous redditor. I was swimming laps in the Hoa pool. Just me and a guy with his kid and toddler. Then he changed his toddler's poopy diaper and dipped him in the pool to rinse after. The pool I was swimming in. So I left. Oh man. That is absolutely disgusting. People who make fun of other people for things they know they are insecure about. Especially if it's not something they can change. Me. Laughs mother, why do you do that annoying laugh? Not even trying to improve something that could trivially be improved. If something is shit, and you know how to fix it, ducking fix it. But I like complaining about that damn door that won't close properly. You'll get your rent when you fix this damn door. Edit. Thanks for the awards, kind strangers. Cheating at board games. It's not a big deal comparing it to some of these things. Damn though, it's so annoying. I'd rather lose trying than win cheating because at least then I know where I stand. Same here. It's weird when someone tries to pull it off too. Those that are far too lazy to use their indicators. It is the epitome of laziness. I hear you. It's also entitlement whereby we all have to wait for them feckers because they are too lazy to let people know where they are going. The best thing you can do in traffic is to be predictable. Child abuse. Any kind of abuse is something that should not be tolerated. You leave cocaine out of this. People being rude to customer service. I know. I hate it when people abuse customer service staff to get free stuff. It makes me really lose respect for the person. Edit. My intention for being nice to the customer service agent is to be nice because it's good in and of itself, not as a tactic that can get you free stuff, as seems to be implied in the comments section here. I hate it when people apply pressure tactics or manipulation schemes just because someone is in the position to do so. I really lose respect for people when I see that. Sadly, most people do this. Please don't confuse a symptom for the disease is what I'm trying to say. I worked in a craft store for a while. Little old ladies were my worst nightmare. I was the cashier that could keep a cool head and stay polite and kind while taking everyone's crap so managers would send the unruly people to me. Ugh, some of the stories I have. Slow fast checkout. And the sick ducks that get in the 10 items or less lane with their loaded 5 weeks worth of groceries cart. I was in the 10 items or less line a while ago and this lady had, no joke, probably 30 containers of Clorox wipes. She had a coupon for each one and they all had to be rung up separately. It took at least 10 minutes by the time I got there. The guy in front of me lost his shit and started yelling at the cashier. He was demanding why he would let her in this line in the first place and demanded to speak to a manager. The manager came over and placated the guy and rung him up separately. He left the rest of us in line though. Duck that lady and her Clorox wipes. Drunk driving. I grew up here in Ireland when we had some horrific drink driving ads on TV. If you YouTube search you'll find a few. One ad specifically on drink driving shows a guy playing soccer with his friends. Every cheer and action is mimicked by a 4-year-old boy in his back garden. Cute. Cut to the man having 2 pints with the lads after the game. He gets into his car and as he's driving, he doesn't realize how close to the step he is and hits the curb and flips the car. The back garden comes back and the little boy is cheering he scored. Suddenly a gigantic car bursts through the hedge and comes at the kid. They show a fluorescent color as the little boy's jersey being cut in half by the debris. Dad comes running out and grabs the limp boy on the ground as the man falls out of the wreck of his car. There's another one about seatbelts that show a car full of young people having a good time. They get into a crash and one of them isn't buckled up. She flies forward and back, side to side and has head-to-head collisions with everyone in the car. Cut to an ambulance taking all their bodies away and a policeman saying the one in the back did all the damage. The song playing in the while ad is a song by Samantha Mumba, Body to Body, and I can't listen to it without hearing that girl's head crack off her friend's head. One more that stuck was one about speeding. Shows a cliche couple in a country Irish road. Stone wall. Girl sitting on the wall and a guy standing between her legs, laughing, smiling. It shows a guy booting down a country road, tunes playing and smirk on his face. Suddenly a dog is in the road and he swerves, flipping the car and it slides. It slams right into the wall and the 2 teenagers. Guy is pinned to girl and she screams. Shows the driver sitting in a court dock being charged, then slowly fades to the girl sitting in a wheelchair at the boyfriend's funeral. Those ads were harsh as all hell but they stuck with me, showing the severity of 1/4 people in a car not buckling up or 2 pints affecting your concentration and 1-second decisions you have to make while driving. Showed me driving nice and easy and so many factors go into you getting somewhere safely. Depending where you live, people driving high or on prescription medication is equally problematic. Even people driving tired can be very dangerous and I had my car totaled by someone like that this year. Arrogant, self-entitled people who think they are the shit and everyone should see them as better. Yeah, well, I hate people who post about me on Reddit. Yeah, well, if you're so much better than everyone else, why are you undercooked? Ha, lasagna? Edit, lasagna. Please don't judge my silly typos. Haha. Influencers online promoting diets, skinny teas, and other diet-wise sort of items, and other unhealthy behaviors onto their young, impressionable fan base. No, no, no. I am 100% for healthy, balanced lifestyles and eating in a nutritious way, but laxative, caffeine bomb teas and 1000 calorie plans are never appropriate to be promoting to 14-year-olds. Never, ever. That is damaging AF, especially for kids whose bodies are still growing, developing. Influencers. I have thousands of followers. I'll pay you an exposure. There's only one kind of exposure I'll take as payment, and that ain't it. I absolutely hate it when people point it out when people are embarrassed or blushing and say look, they're going red, they're getting embarrassed. Why would you do that? It's just cruel. What are you getting out of commenting on people being embarrassed? Yes, I get that shit all the time because I blush easily. Like if I think about talking to others I can blush to a deep red. There was a kid in my high school who when he blushed would have to turn around for several minutes because everyone would laugh at him and point it out. Then his voice would start to crack. Then the teacher wouldn't resume class until he turned back around. I'm surprised he didn't shoot himself in the face. That's pure torture. Even the teacher picked on him? That's another thing I don't tolerate. Overcrowded stores. It makes me crazy and deeply uncomfortable. I prefer to get stuff done as early as possible. One-uppers. You share some great news, they have better news. You share some bad news, no, their life is far worse. They deserve your pity. Cringiest thing I ever heard. I was at work and one of our colleagues had a child that passed away. We had just heard the news and were talking amongst each other about how horrible and sad it was. This woman in our department actually said, "Oh yeah, well I know someone who had twins die. Can you imagine? Twins. It's sad to lose a baby, but two would be so much worse." We couldn't believe it. Some people who are not very good at socializing might do something like that to try and connect and share something they know, but not realize that what they are doing is annoying. Molesters. I read this as Maltesers. I don't like molesters, but I do like Maltesers. I was prepared to argue with you, but now I will not. Malteser is a ducking drug man. So good, and now I want some. People who cancel plans last minute, or during the time we had planned. It's amazing how many responsible adults do this edit, with exceptions of course. If you have mental physical health issues or a job that causes last minute flaking, then I can tolerate it. It still helps if you give a warning ahead of time though. Depends on circumstances, but I agree, really scummy thing to do. How YouTube puts two ads which are both either 5 seconds long or unskippable. Edit. Thank you very much for the silver award. Anyone notice that the time needed to skip an ad has been getting longer? I had an ad that I couldn't skip for 7 seconds. Being called a liar. It's got me into trouble with managers a few times. In a similar vein, being unfairly accused of unethical behavior. Worked in a place that had executives on down that would call any minor infraction unethical behavior. Such an accusation is very serious and has real and severe consequences for many professionals. You don't just toss that shit at someone for being 5 minutes late to work. For real. Almost got myself fired over it also because the VP of our company didn't comprehend what I told him and I got into a huge argument with him and my manager about it on the phone. I refused to back down and my manager ended up hanging up on me. Found out later that the VP supposedly told him to fire me but he didn't. Luckily the VP isn't at our plant very often, so by the next time I saw him he just didn't care anymore. People who play music loudly in public places. I think anyone who plays music or plays games with the sound on in public is an inconsiderate a-hole. And no, I don't care if you think your kid needs to play games with the sound on. Buy some ducking headphones. I don't care if it's for a kid. They need to learn how to function in public too. Cruelty to animals. The problem is, where do you draw the line? Yep, gratuitously kicking beating a dog is horrible, and something I'd never tolerate. But there are so many shades of grey out there. Should we consider some of the practices of the meat industry cruelty? Open bracket. The actual intended practices. Not just rogue abusive employees we sometimes hear about. Some people would consider having a barn outside cat cruelty, or leaving your dog home alone for 9-10 hours while you are at work. Is there a good way to draw an objective line? Torture of animals for the purpose of making them feel bad without gain. People clicking their fingers at me to do something. Chances are if you do, I won't end up doing it. People that don't put shopping carts away, or leave them near someone else's car so the wind can move them and cause damage. Getting a little thank you from a grocery store employee for bringing the cart back to the front is such a tiny piece of heartwarmingness. Willful ignorance. People who refuse to learn, acknowledge or accept something to avoid having to change their worldview. Bonus answer. People who try to disprove your argument by forcing you into a hypothetical question predicated upon you being wrong. E.g., would you still say that red is better than blue if blue could cure cancer? No, but blue can't cure cancer. Your point is moot. Forcing me to agree with you in a manufactured case does not make your point in the real world. A. People who drive slowly in the fast lane. Or B. Those who don't pull over in mountain roads when there is a trail of cars behind them. Edit. C. Tailgaters. Ducking tailgaters. Man. I had a fun solution for tailgaters when I was younger. The tailgate for my truck was held up by a rope that I tied through the window in the backseat of my truck. If someone got on my ass, I would reach back and undo the knot, and the tailgate would slam down. Usually it just scared them into backing off. One time, a guy was so on my ass it smashed his headlights. He called the cops. I got a warning for an unsafe tailgate. He got a massive fine and points off his license for reckless driving and endangerment. As the cop said, there was no way that tailgate welder smashed his lights unless he was suicidally, the cop's word, close to me truck. The other driver was not allowed to drive his vehicle home because it was night, and his lights were broken. Karma is fun. Edit. Thanks for the silver guys. Glad this story has made so many people's day. Insert proper revenge subreddit here. There are only two things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch. Carnies. Circus folk. Nomads, you know, smell like cabbage. Small hands. Someone making fun of my dad being deaf. I just see red and start swinging. I can't help it. It hasn't happened in more than a decade, thankfully, but I'm pretty sure my reaction would still be the same. Maybe even worse tbh. Since you got to be a special kind of douchebag to make fun of someone's disability after you reach a certain age. I will ignore people making fun of me all day long. I'm fat. It happens. But if someone says something even slightly rude about my father's disability, I go off. This comment below mine. Dog rape isn't a good thing. I agree. Entitled people. Every time I read a story from that sub, the first thing I think is, why did you even stay in that situation? Tell them to duck off and walk away. Sadly, I've done it before. Mainly to my dad's wife, not my mom. Someone yelling at me for zero justification. I ducked up badly and boss had a bad day and yells at me? Understandable. Drill sergeant yells at me for ducking up. Understandable. My friend I used to enjoy being around before he screamed his head off at me over a video game? Duck off. Infidelity. Passive aggressive people. Unless it's a joke. Every passive aggressive person I have ever met and tried to tolerate for as long as I could turned out to be complete garbage. Every single time. I'm not tolerating that anymore. If you want to be cool with me, be honest with me. I see them as cowardly because they are unable to say how they feel, so slyly dig at you. People who think that they are masterminds but in reality they are stupid as duck. Being yelled at. I got enough of that shit all throughout childhood. I promised myself I would never let anyone yell at me again. When someone doesn't close my room door after entering. Celebrity worship. Abuse of anyone or any other living thing in my presence. I don't care if I know you or not. If I see any blatant abuse, I will intervene. Scientology. Duck your fake bullshit that allows you to avoid taxes, intimidate and kidnap people, disappear people and con millions upon millions of dollars out of those searching for a sense of community. Texting while driving. Worse is when people talk about it and say something like, we all do it. No, shithead, we don't. Lots of us are responsible and stay focused on the road. Along with the normal moral stuff, crimes and whatnot, I really don't understand people who argue a lot. It doesn't take much to realize that the vast majority of arguments that I hear from these people are usually not important at all, and it just makes me mad to hear two people start going at it for no reason or gain. I can't tolerate someone being a know-it-all, or constantly one-upping everyone. People editing their gilded comments to thank a kind stranger. A Reddit bot ducking sends you a message which allows you to thank the person who gilded your comment, anonymous or not. The kind of person who would call a fire engine to a fake fire, or the woman who lies about having a miscarriage or being preggers in the first case. People who use the word preggers. Cheating. The second I hear someone's cheating, I can just feel whatever respect I had for them dwindle. Pooping in the shower. People who put toilet paper on the roll the wrong way. It obviously goes over the top. A furry with a swastika armband. Being spoken over when I'm talking. People who are rude to service staff. People who abuse animals. People who abuse children. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.